What's up, everybody? Once again, we are here. This is Quentin Lee for RQ Productions. And once again, we have my brother, my friend, Mr. Joshua Adams in the studio once again for episode 2 of the Dear Man series. This is episode 2 of Dear Man, and we're going to continue the thought of what men go through. Last week, we talked about the state of today's of men today and what we go through, what we struggle with, some of our main issues that we deal with. And today we're going to
Mhm.
continue that and start off with talking about our silent battles, um, about men and their mental health and how mental
Mm.
health matters today more than ever before, especially for men, because we don't open up. And we talked about not opening up last time. So my brother Josh, how has society taught men to be strong and not show weakness?
How has society taught men to be strong and not show weakness? Well, they've made it a place where men can't show emotions.
Yeah,
It's been when men show emotions, it's been painted this image of just femininity.
yeah,
Femininity. I guess that's how
yeah,
you pronounce the word. But
yeah,
it's not something that's considered masculine. So when men go to show emotions, they're looked at as weak and it's awkward for them. And so
yeah.
men have constantly, like we said last time, just withdrawn into ourselves so that we can be accepted in the culture that we're in and not viewed differently.
And that silently kills us
It does.
when we have to acquiesce and not be ourselves
Mhm.
just to fit in. It slowly kills us, and that's part of our mental health because we have been conditioned not to show weakness. We
Mhm.
have been conditioned not to complain, and it's weird, Josh, because I like to talk about relationships, so I'm gonna use that as the basis. You want the guy that's gonna open up to you,
Definitely.
that's going to be emotionally available for you. But if he shows too much emotion, he's too soft, or he's weak, or he's not considered a man. So now we're struggling because it's like we don't know how much to give or not give because you want somebody who's available emotionally, intellectually,
Mhm. Yeah.
but if we then start to and see what it is too, it becomes very selfish because you want me and require me to be emotionally available for you. But
Yeah.
if I come home from work and tell you, sweetheart, I feel like giving up, or sweetheart, I just don't know if I can make it anymore. Now you have the right to look at me with a side eye.
Yeah.
And I
I think
can't
too
go
I was gonna say, I think too, some of it is the old school or just the old school mindset and framework in which we had a male and a female household where the man was the provider and there was some strength there and that was, he had to be the provider. So with that title provider comes strength, comes almost like a you think of a fortress almost, where he's the first line of defense protecting that household and there can be no weakness there. And then you have the woman who is back in that time period would have been, the home taker, taking care of the home. The things are provided by the man. And so therefore she's inside the fortress. She's protected. And if she sees that emotion, it's like that fortress has some penetration gone through it. So she's not going to feel sometimes necessarily secure in that relationship. But two, at the same time, I also think there is some aspects where when you're leading, it's just, I guess, a mindfulness of how much emotion are you showing. And I guess with that leadership comes that pressure and sometimes we withdraw from just completely because even as leaders, we still have to have emotion. We still have to have feeling. We need to find a space to process that in a healthy manner too.
And Josh, you're exactly right, which leads to the pressure you just said and why we as men suffer in silence with depression, anxiety, stress, loneliness. Couple of things to make to that point that you just said. You had the man there doing his duties. You had the wife there in her role. If that's the understanding that we have,
Hmm.
okay. But along the line, Josh, something happened. And now what was not required of my grandfather is now required of me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So now, but see, you still require me to be the leader, the protector, the provider, right?
Yep.
The If it's a noise in the middle of the night, I'm required to get up and go check with the dog. So I still have to do these things. If the mortgage payment comes, I'm the one that got to get it out the mailbox, right? And initially
Yep.
look at it and deal with it. Those things are still required. Fine. But now, when you add on to the fact that, yeah, we should be more emotionally available, but we weren't taught how to do that. And we're having to navigate an empty playbook on the fly of how do I be that leader that I need to be, that I was taught to be, that I want to be, and be empathetic enough to where now we can connect on a deeper level, but not be so soft to where she loses respect in me. That's
Correct.
a
Yeah.
fine line to walk today,
Yep.
which
And I think
leads,
too, when it comes to that, go ahead.
no, 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 you good.
I was gonna say, I think too, as when back in that day, or just overall leading the household, it requires that mindfulness to have someone you can connect to outside. That's another man too. As iron sharpens
Yeah,
iron, so does one man sharpen another. So I think
yeah,
there's that vulnerability that needs to come with having relationships outside, you know, outside the home, the household. Not
yeah,
forsaken, because obviously when the two become one once they're married. But
yeah,
nevertheless, that man still needs that support of other men too.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
relationships are fundamental to who we are.
One thing I see that's different too in that aspect, when my grandfather was coming up, Josh, he had a lot of buddies. They hunted together, they preached together, and they shared a certain type. They worked on the tractors and stuff together, and
Mhm,
they shared the tough times, releasing it through working on the tractor or hunting or talking about preaching. And they were able to release it through that, whether it was stress with their wives and they want to talk about, or stress from work or children or whatever have you. They were able to release it in that. And what I see, and maybe just as from my own personal experience, um, those numbers are not there like they used to be. My grandfather had 12 or 15 guys he could turn to back in the day. And that's not the case for me today. Um, I consider you a great friend, and I
mhm.
would say maybe 3, maybe 4 more guys, and that's it.
Yeah,
But
same.
then
I mean,
they have their own lives that they're trying to live. We don't bond
yep.
necessarily in the same way like my grandfather and them did back in the day. We don't have a unifying thing that we can do, whether it's the gym or basketball, or at least I don't. Maybe I'm just introverted and that's my problem. But you
Mhm.
don't have the same type of camaraderie, so to speak,
Uh,
as my father and them did.
right. So I've noticed that for my own self. I mean, with you, and then but beyond that, it's like because even at work, predominantly women dominated profession that we're
Yeah,
both in.
yeah,
So it's hard getting those relationships because it's like between working and then still trying to live outside of school because you have a family for you, or for myself where I'm working from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, Monday through Friday. It's like, where's that time to build those relationships? And for me, my two of the closest friends that I have, one's living in North Carolina, the other one's way out in Colorado, and he's expecting a baby now. So it's like, how do you have time for that aspect as a man too, building those relationships with your peers who are
yeah,
like-minded individuals who are same gender as well. So it's just finding that time, and it's hard. Church I attend up here, he brought up a sermon about sometimes it's easier to, there's that temptation to want to go back to the way things were before. So let's say you're a college kid, and or let's just say you've moved to a new town, you're at a new church, and you're like, why are my relationships not like they were prior? Well, because that took time to get there. Like, that's an investment. And like now it's going to take the same thing. He told us essentially you're in a new play field. The site is cleared. Now you just got to keep digging, and you got to keep
yeah,
digging, and you got to work towards that. And but it takes time and commitment too. But at the same time, I think also, like you said, and I agree, when life is lifing, he has your friend got a wife or a kid on the way, or there, like, distance is, also a reality too. You also there's a expectation that also has to be held within yourself too. I had this conversation this past week, and we didn't. My friend and I, she disagreed with me, but I also think that there's a reality. Like, I don't expect my brother out in Colorado to call me once a week. It's just not practical.
right.
And I also think it's kind of a disservice to where the Lord has both of us in this season, because I would imagine the Lord would want us to be connected to the people that are in our close vicinity, because that's where He has us in that season.
Yeah,
Not saying that we neglect our relationship that we have, but
yeah.
still He wants us to focus where He has us. And I
And
think too, going, yep,
give yourself and give us men some grace.
hmm
Because of technology, Papa wasn't required to keep up with somebody way across the country. The
no,
friends
He
he
wasn't.
had were right around him. And here we are arguing whether I should be able to have to keep up with a guy clear across the country. You can't, it's not
Yeah.
practical.
No, and I thank the Lord that he and I, we, and I praise the Lord, and I need to be better about it. But he's been so consistent, just reaching out at least once a month, because that was
Yeah.
our agreement. I said, "You moving out there, I'm cool with it, as long as you keep we staying connected."
Yep.
Because my two friends that I'm talking about, those were the two brothers I had prayed for before I went off to college, asking the Lord for true, genuine friendships, men that could
Okay.
actually walk alongside me in my life. So now they're both not here in Lynch, where we're at, but they're still a blessing.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think for our generation, whether it's millennial or Gen X, I think we are in that transition phase just of in general for everything,
Yeah.
where just society, the roles in society were changing. When we came about, you had technology that came about, and you had the internet, cell phones,
Yep.
all of these things that we are now literally responsible for figuring out and trying to train up the next generation.
Yep.
And sometimes it looks like we fall and stumble, especially when it comes to technology, when children are now so addicted to technology and cell phones, and not just children, but adults ourselves. But we were never given those guardrails on how to navigate that. So
Nope.
now we're literally building the plane as we go. And so it's a challenge. And I think the
Yep.
same aspect as trying to understand, what does manhood look like for us today?
Yes. Yes. And, but I want to at least leave with the initial point of it should be okay to ask for help.
It should.
It should be okay to ask or to say, I need help and not lose any masculinity
Mhm.
because you said that you need help, which is a different playbook than what our forefathers had. And to your
Yep.
point, you just said with technology and the way things are, we're having, and I find myself a lot, Josh, trying to, if I'm going through a certain situation, I have no reference for it. And I'm trying to find out,
Mhm.
okay, how do I navigate this? Because looking back is not helping me navigate this. So
Oh,
you're having to navigate some new territories that people were not exposed to before. And
indeed.
our children are experiencing it in one way where it's all they've known. But
Mhm.
with us, we're kind of in that tough situations where we lived life before it and now in the boom of it. And it's a weird space to be for us because when we were taught fundamentals in our lives, this was not available. So we were taught in the old way, but we became adults in the new way. And
Mhm.
Josh, that is extremely difficult to navigate.
It is.
Josh, I remember being in school, bro, and you having to take a piece of paper, take your pen or pencil, write a note to a girl, get up the courage to find her in the hallway and hand her that letter, bro, in front of everybody. That's how we grew up.
Mhm.
And then you were praying for her to hand you one back, right? And
Yep.
that's how we were molded into life.
Mhm.
That's how we grew up. We experienced these things and we were taught about life in that era. And then somewhere along the line, Josh, it switched mid game for us. And now we're having to navigate this thing almost blindly.
Yeah. I remember even telling the girl I liked her, and I hated it, but I waited because, I was in that generational change where I didn't have to do the notes. Now I could reach out via Facebook Messenger and send her this long message telling her how I felt about it. I'm like, wow. But I think their benefit to things being back then was, I think there was more opportunity and more space for men to be able to practice how to communicate and
Oh,
interact
without a
socially,
doubt. Without a doubt.
stumble and being okay with the stumbling and fumbling, and
But
okay,
Josh,
she's not interested in me. It's
it didn't
okay.
bother us then.
Right.
See, if you wanted a date then, you had to walk up to the girl and
Hmm.
ask her. You then either went out to Wendy's, oh, but we won't go down that road. You went out to Wendy's and she was okay with that, but we're not going to go down that
Hmm.
road. So you went to McDonald's or Wendy's or you went to the movies and you had to
Hmm.
have the actual physical meeting up of each other to see whether this thing is going to be viable or not, right?
Right.
Well, that now has changed. And what I've noticed now is people will vet you. They don't even have to meet you now. They just go to your social media to see what type of person you are to figure out whether they want to
That's
deal
true.
with you or not.
That's true.
because we put our life on social media, if they want to figure out whether they deal with you or not, they just go to social media to find out what you're about. And if
Yeah.
you're not acquiescing or living the lifestyle they want to live because they don't want to change certain aspects about themselves, if you don't meet every bullet point, they have every right to say, no, not you. There's no
Yeah.
more compromising. There's no more coming together to grow together. I remember
Mm.
my uncle is doing really well now, Josh. He's
Mhm.
doing
Good.
he worked his butt off. He got his degrees, bro, went to school. He's living good now. He's wife is doing good, bro. I mean, he's just he earned everything he got.
Good.
But I'm old enough to remember, Josh, to when that wasn't always the case for him.
Mm.
Him and his wife started out in a one bedroom apartment, and they were just as happy as two peas in a pod, Josh, with
Mhm.
that little one bedroom apartment, bro, eating oodles and noodles and minute steaks. And bro, this is back in the day, and I may be dating myself, and I can tell times are changing because I'm dating myself, bro. You know a regular laptop screen, just a regular
Mhm.
laptop screen.
Mhm.
His TV was not even or as big as a regular laptop screen, bro.
Wow.
That was his TV that we were playing Sega Genesis on, bro. It fit on a little shelf, bro. I mean, if I did that with my hands, that was his TV screen, bro.
Mhm.
And they were just as happy as two peas in a pod, bro. Now you gotta have TVs in every room, bro. You gotta have all your streaming services. You got to have the
Yep.
Wi-Fi popping, right? He was
Yeah.
driving a little Ford Escort, bro, and they were just as happy as two peas in a pod, bro. But something has changed, bro, and it's like we're having to navigate differently today. And where I struggle with it, and I was talking to my cousin I was telling you about earlier, Josh. This is how I felt what happened when we were taught when we were coming up a certain way. And to us, then success meant operating in a certain mindset. Well, in order to really focus on yourself, Josh, you got to put your head down and grind, right?
Yeah.
You
You do.
just got to, whether it's school or work or business or get just working on yourself, you got to put your head down and grind. Well, then what happens is while you're putting your head down grinding, time is going by. Well, when you finally get yourself together, or at least to a point to where you feel you can at least lift your head up and say, hey, world, this is who I am. This is what I have to offer. Because of the shift in time, time is now saying to you, we don't accept this person. This person was 6 years ago.
It's outdated now.
When I put my head down to start grinding, and I won't gonna focus on nothing else because they tell you when you working on yourself, you grind, you don't pay attention to nothing else. Well, I did that, Josh, and it seems like time passed me by. So when I stood up and put my tie on and say, "Hey, world," now society, people, time can now say, "We don't fool with that type of guy no more." Now you're confused, like, huh?
Yeah.
What happened? So it's a real struggle out here, man, that we deal with as far as our mental health, trying to navigate life by ourselves, alone, trying to still have meaningful friendships, even though they've moved off and not in the same area as you. Um, I'm a real introverted guy,
Same.
and I spend 6 days of my week, which we only have seven, either in our occupation that we have Monday through Friday and at church. Josh, with the occupation we have at church, I spend all of my points I have to be extroverted.
Right.
I
Mm.
have no more points because it costs me
Yep.
all of that just to maintain what I'm doing.
Yep.
My cousin would then say, and I will admit I had a hard time digesting this. He says, Q, you need to be more social. And in my brain I'm saying, I can't be no more social than I am. I've spent all of my points. Like, do you
Mm.
understand, sir, what an introvert is? I could be at home every day and not go out and still be good.
Right. Same.
So to have to deal with what we do as an occupation, and then when I'm in church, I am, for the most part, ministering to people and giving of myself. And well, really, Christ helps me, and then I give out what He gives me. So,
Mhm.
but still, there's a transference there, and that takes something out of you because you
It
have to
does.
deliver what God put in you to give to His people.
Mhm.
So then it's like the idea of somehow mustering the strength to go sit at the ball game where I can't even hear the young lady talk
Mm.
it doesn't do it for me, bro.
Right.
And I will admit I struggle with that, bro. Um, I didn't mean to go down that vein, but
Oh, no,
um,
you're good.
so let me ask you.
Mhm.
So all that being said, what are some healthy outlets that we can have, even being introverted?
Well, I think first and foremost, I want to say I think it's important to know you and not to question that person that you are in that regard, whether you're introvert or extroverted. And the reason being is because the Lord uses both. Which extroverted people is a lot easier to see how those talents and skills and that personality trait is used. But I remember listening to a podcast, Jackie Hill Perry, Preston Perry, 30 Minutes with the Perrys, and how they were in the airport. Preston is a lot more extroverted. So he was in the airport talking to, I believe, a Muslim or an atheist or of some sort and just talking with them about the gospel and with the word. Well, that's not Jackie Hill's thing. She's more introverted. She's more quiet and reserved. And so when he looked back after he had gotten done talking, I guess, with this group of people, his wife was literally praying with somebody else off to the side. The Lord was still using both of their gifts, but it just looks different. So I think to go back to your question and some outlets for introverted people, I say walk in the season that you're in. So maybe if you're in ministry, sometimes learn to say no or not necessarily being required to put that hat on and letting others lead in that position sometimes maybe or going hiking sometimes something as simple as going hiking and being willing to some maybe just greet others every now and then or whatever.
And I think on the surface, I feel that it might be easier if you had that group and that camaraderie around you, to
Yeah,
where
it would.
now you're not just looking kind of weird and you're going out to the ball game or the coffee shop by yourself, just sitting, which that's
Hmm.
fine.
It
But I
is.
feel that then it would be easier if you had that group. But a lot of introverts, a lot of times, plus with people's lives, you don't have that group like that. Because my buddies,
No, you don't.
my A1s, they're either working or dealing with their families. So on the off chance that I have free time, I feel kind of guilty hitting them up to see if they got free time because I understand what they're going through. You know, they don't really have time to go out and do those things because they're married and obligated to life and work and all that and the kids and all that. Um,
Hmm.
and you're right, but there has to be, and this is what my cousin was trying to say too. All of which is hard for me to digest, but there has to be a level of sacrifice
Yep.
or
Sacrifice and
set.
intentionality.
Yes. So my rebuttal to that, Josh, then was my brain is telling me I'm already sacrificing so much because I just told you before we started, I'm helping and doing and helping. I don't even have time to get my own stuff done. It costs us a certain level of whatever adjective I'm looking for to stay in our occupation. You can't go in there any type of way. And you
No,
certainly can't get on the pulpit talking any kind of way. So
no.
I'm in a sense, I'm sacrificing a lot. I feel I'm not trying to be conceited, but then to hear him say sacrificing, my initial rebuttal before I catch myself in my head saying, "Bro, I'm already
No,
sacrificing."
I hear you. I agree, and I think it's like what more can we do? And so then I guess the question that we need to wrestle with is are the things that we doing truly needed or required of us? Because the big idea for men too is not only do men like to feel supported. Another mindset for some that I've heard a few months ago was men like to feel needed. And so
Yeah,
when we're made to feel needed and those people are fulfilling those obligations, there's some gratification that's within inside of us that's enjoying that urge that people need us. But it's like, okay, what things must actually remain on my plate for me to consume right now, versus what things can be put back and save for later. And like I
and
said,
that's
that
a
just takes
challenge.
intentionality, and it is. It takes some intentionality on our part to evaluate what's important, and then it takes some intentionality to understand that it's actually okay to say no.
Now, this may or may not be wrong, but just to give you a small
Hmm.
example, if I need a picture hung on my wall and my
Hmm.
cousin needs a picture hung on his wall, if he asks me, I'm going to not hang it on my wall and go hang it on his wall. Now, is that my character? A. And B, is that always a good thing to do that, to what you're saying?
Can you say it one more time?
So, the type of person I am, because you just said, is it good, even good to be always available? Kind of if I'm hearing what you were saying.
Hmm.
I'm the type of person is, and maybe it's that need to be needed thing that if we both need the same job done, I'm going to help you with your job before I do my job.
Mm,
And I don't know if that's a good characteristic or a bad one. But if I need a picture hung on the wall and you need a picture hung on the wall, I'm going to help you first hang your picture, and then I'll just come home and just figure out how I'm gonna do mine later.
mm. Well, I think is
That's
a part of it is examining the heart of the motive of the heart at the time.
I
Is it
like
just
helping.
driven by
I'm a helper, right?
And then sometimes too, I think it's also just being mindful of I think it's just being realistic with what's required. So for example, it's like a triage. So in a triage, they set the triage up and they address the highest concern, the highest need. If
Okay,
it's not a high need, they're put down as a priority. They're put lower down on the priority list. If your arm is broken, but here we got Phil gushing up blood everywhere, Phil's gonna be the one that's addressed more because your arm's broken. That's not too much of the danger, but Phil is literally losing his bodily fluids coming from him. So it would
gotcha.
make more sense to address that. Uh, but I guess, I mean, also too, I mean, just the mindset, what's the heart and motive behind it? You like helping people, yes. But I think sometimes if we're not aware of our own boundaries, eventually what always happens is we get burned out and we feel
Yeah,
we've sometimes, and we also, because we're human, we eventually start to feel taken advantage of too.
yeah. Well, see, so then that's going to bring us to our next point: being provider versus present, because now we're talking about redefining manhood.
Hmm.
Because what I saw out of manhood was he was always there to provide and to help. It was never really about him, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. He was there to make sure everybody else was straight. And that's what I was imprinted in my brain before we had technology, before we had other sources of ways of finding out to do stuff. This is what I saw. And now when we're presented with a much bigger world now, the idea of the provider versus being present and then making that triage of what's vital and what may not be so vital. Um, so to answer that question, if then I have to put myself first,
Hmm.
one, I'm going against what I was taught. Two, it's going against my natural nature to help. So then that creates some awkward feelings in me. Because what I always say, and it never really happens, I'll just get my stuff done. But I never get to. I feel you, right.
So,
It's right. I never get to.
So, what's the expression that they say on the plane? Don't try to help somebody put their gas mask on until you got yours on. Why?
That's what
Because
they say.
eventually.
That's what they say.
So, I think it's being mindful of if your house is not in order, how can you go help someone else's house get in order? If you got all of this stuff that's constantly piling up, you don't have peace where you should have peace, which is the home. So if everything else, some things don't necessarily have to take priority. And then I think that's too, and it's okay to wrestle with that within ourselves too. Understanding that I can't sit here and pour from an empty vessel. If the house is not in order, if I don't have peace at my home, how am I going to get it when I go outside these doors? So if
Now
I
see
haven't
what
addressed and kept my house clean, there's a problem. Because eventually I'm going to want somebody to come in and come over, but I don't want them to come see any type of mess.
now see that's what and you are I almost feel like saying a bad word, but you are exactly right.
But I think too that goes into mental health too. When you have your own stuff and it's not addressed and taken care of, but you try to address everybody else's, that's where the problems come in.
Well,
So, for example,
look at the
hmm
the point under what we got next. My definition, which is the old way of thinking, a man's
hmm
value equaled how much he provided. And how do you
hmm
provide other than helping other people or being there for other
sure,
people?
definitely,
So to me, that equated manhood.
hmm
So
yeah,
I was showing more manhood to go help as opposed to getting my own stuff straight, right?
mm,
And I'm trying to work it out as we talk because I'm trying to process it too. But
yeah,
my old way of thinking meant the manhood equaled provision, providing, being there. And that may have been okay then, because as you just said, I want my house straight so that if somebody just pop up, it's clean. Well,
hmm
Papa didn't have to worry about that because Grandma kept that straight.
yeah,
See,
definitely,
we don't, and since we don't have that, now we have to kind of unlearn all of that in a sense and start to do
hmm
like the triage thing, like you said. And I always go back, bro. We're having to unlearn some stuff because the dynamics are so different.
they are, they are.
I
And I think
have to
he's
start putting myself first and making
Mhm.
sure home is straight first. That's a
Oh,
new
yeah.
thing for me.
Yeah, because it impacts mental health. Like, for
Yeah.
me, if I it's so frustrating. So working from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and in between eating my meals, I do the meal prep and I have my containers. I kid you not, it feels like the biggest responsibility when I'm getting home at 10 o'clock at night to clean that container and to feed my geckos. But I know it has to be done because when I was allowing those containers to pile up by the end of the week on Saturday, when Saturday came, I was like, man, I got dishes in the sink. Granted, it was about 10 dishes. It wasn't that many, but it was
But
still some form of weight that was on me.
but let me ask you, is so
Mhm.
when you say it needs to be done that night, does it? Or is that just you?
That's just me. That's me knowing that in order for me to feel like everything is in decency and order at the home, and in
Yeah.
order for me not to see that sink pile up and invite, I mean, let's be honest, invite critters and roaches and everything else under the sun, I know I need to keep stuff clean. Because
A
even
big thing
as
for
men, I
me,
think, because
a big thing for
I
me is
was
the
going to
clothes, but you're right, go ahead.
But I was gonna say, like, even like I think a big thing too, men, we need to keep things clean, keep the help keep the house clean, and I think that mindset, like you said, that's something kind of new for the manhood culture
Yeah.
because who was typically doing that? Well, men would keep our garages, keep the outdoors parts clean, but now it's being a part of that home and being present in the home because not only are you working, but most households, both spouses or both, everyone's working from the
Let me tell you
mom
something,
to the
Josh.
dad to
Let me
children
tell
too
you
now.
something.
Mhm.
If you want to be married to Q, you better be working. Hey,
Same here.
we'll get there one day where I can say, hey, honey, but if you want to start out with Q, you better be working.
Yep. Because, and I think too, there's a part, I don't, and I'm just saying this and I could be wrong. This is from personal experience too. I think there's a mindset that as a man, I feel kind of inferior to other men since I can't do that. And I'm
Without a
wrestling
doubt.
with that. And I'm like, I wish
Without a
I
doubt.
could tell my significant other, like, automatically, Baby, you ain't got to go to work no more. You can stay at home. Oh,
Without a doubt.
matter of fact, you ain't even got to worry about anything. All the bills going to be paid. But that's just not the circumstances of reality of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Today's standards, you got to have, it's, I think the bare minimum they will expect people now to have is a six figures. And I'm like,
Yeah.
who has six figures?
Yeah.
Not even most two parent house, or excuse me,
Are
two
making that.
income households. No,
Are making
it's
that.
just not feasible in our
Yeah.
considering it. I mean, let's be honest, considering everything that's going on.
Yeah. And
It'll be nice,
and
but it's
and
not
my
feasible.
thing is, here's where I struggle. You can get that,
Mhm.
but what it would cost you
Is a
to get
lot.
it is a heck of a lot.
Mhm.
If I worked to get that, I would have had to put my head down even longer.
Yeah.
Now instead of 38, I'm 45.
Mhm.
And all right, 45 come, you're making 90,000 a year. Okay, cool. But it costs so much, bro, when we can just come to because the reality of it is if you are making that, because you said earlier, sometimes we feel inferior.
Mhm.
But the reality of it is, Josh, if I was making that, I wouldn't have to fight you like that. I wouldn't have to barter with you. I wouldn't have to walk
Mm.
around lonely. I wouldn't have to, right?
Yeah.
Even if you had to fake it, you do it because how many men are walking around making almost six figures or more? So if that's the life that you want, you can chase that.
Mhm.
What I want is something like what my uncle had, where when she saw him working at McDonald's, that didn't turn her away.
Mm.
And whatever she saw in him then, because he wasn't making that then, he had to get to 20 years later to get there. But she saw him and met him at McDonald's,
Mm.
and whatever she saw was enough for her to hold on to until now he can say it to her.
She was down like 4 flat tires. Love it.
She was down like four flat tires, bro. And this is what I've seen with my own two eyes. And sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, is that gone? Has
Mm.
that ceased? Because she saw him, bro. And because I was younger, but old enough to witness it, she was down, bro.
Mhm.
She wanted him. She fell in love with him. As a result of her staying down,
Mhm.
20 years later, now she can sit back and he can say to her, honey, what we saying, you ain't even got it. If you just want to do your little artwork, just do that. But you can't get there, Josh, unless you help that man get there. If you really want a bond, now you can go ahead and meet you a guy that already got that, but guess what? He's not acquiescing to you. You're gonna do everything he tell you to do. That's just
Mm.
how life is. You go out here and meet you a guy that's already making that, and he done had to work hard and sacrifice and put his head down and fight this world, telling him he won't nothing and he's made something out of nothing. And you meet that guy, you ain't going in doing what you want to do, saying what you want to say. You're gonna go in and acquiesce and do everything he say.
Yeah, because he's got to make space for you. Yeah, and it's an adjustment now that you're coming in. It's an interruption. It's a spoke on that wheel. So yeah, it takes time to get adjusted to that.
And
It's a
they
change.
but they are willing to acquiesce against their comfort level just to say they got that. But the guy that's working at McDonald's today, so to speak, they not willing to work with that guy to help him get there. Now me and you are not working at McDonald's. I'm not trying to diminish McDonald's. It's so crazy, bro. And I hate to always go down this vein, bro. And maybe one day we may be teaching master classes on this stuff.
Mm.
But bro, if I was a teacher or an educator 30 years ago, bro, we wouldn't have no problems, Josh. We wouldn't have no problems.
You would have had the support from the home.
And the community,
True. Yes.
from the
And now,
home
yeah,
and the community.
yeah.
But now, because you said in our occupation, it's generally considered a woman's position. So now we can't even really get the respect that we worked hard to get. And we ain't working at McDonald's. And even in our profession, where we make an impact on people every day, bro, they may not like what we say, but they respect us, they honor us, and they know that we're leading them in the right direction. So when we
Hmm.
walk in that building, bro, they respect us. And this is from the top down. They may not like us, but Josh, they respect us. And even that is not enough. And I preached a sermon last week on being short. And every day men are reminded of how short we are because the world reminds us. It cost me a lot, Josh, to
Hmm.
get where I got. And I know you too. Only for life to then say, well, if you want this type of life, you still ain't got enough. Granted, Dave, my pop, I'm gonna say this as nicely as I can. Kind of what I just said a minute ago. Bro, education really wasn't an option for him back in a day like that. They didn't do that,
Hmm.
and he didn't. They were factory workers and janitors and cleaning up, and that's cool. But you didn't have the option to really switch and then be wearing a tie up in somebody's classroom as a black man. Not like we do today.
Yeah.
You didn't really have the education, and liberty wasn't available like that. And where was you going, right? So, and now we have all this education on us, bro. We got more money than our forefathers had, but it's still ain't enough
No,
because
no, no.
I need 3 times what Pop was making a day.
I mean, but I think that's the beast. That's that beast of, I hate to say it, but it's truth. It's the beast of capitalism.
Go ahead.
There's
No, I'm with you.
always something more that needs to be that's something the new, whether it's the new technology or the new this, the new that, the next biggest thing with the house or whatever it is. Things are constantly just prices are constantly increasing, but there seems to be no increase in wages. I mean,
Yep.
even look at college tuition rates. And I was listening to something yesterday where they were talking about how you had tuition free, I think back in the 60s, and then they started enforcing it and having tuition costs. And those
Yep.
tuition costs, is if you look, I believe from the 90s up to the early 2000s, 2010s, they just skyrocketed. And what was our generation fed? Our generation was fed, oh, if you go to college, you can be successful. If you go to college, you can have this, you can have that. And now we see that mindset is changing for our kids now because now we're trying to gear them more towards trade schools and making sure we show them that there are options.
There
But
are
our
options.
generation wasn't given that. Our
Nope.
generation was told it was in the tech, it was in the movies, it was in the TV shows. College is the way to go. And so now we're their cash cow that they're just just draining us dry. Literally.
Draining us dry.
They're draining our generation dry off of college debt. And it's just the
Yep.
facts.
I
And I
have a
mean, if you
family
look at
member.
it too, mhm,
No, 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 no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like I was saying, even though for us, we know that there's trade schools. Last Sunday, I heard that there was a high need for plumbers or your electricians. All these, blue collar jobs that are needed and that have, people,
HVAC.
they need to be fulfilled. Yep, they need to be fulfilled. But also, too, we heard this expression, oh, if you want to go to school, you want to go to college, join the military. Well, the Lord has not instilled for everybody to be in those positions. Just
Nope.
because they're available does not mean that you are called and that's where the Lord has for you to be. And I think that there's this old mindset that's saying if you want to do something, you got to tough it out. Well, maybe that's not what God has for that person in this season
Yep.
or at
Yep.
all.
Yep. Um, Before I make this next statement to what you were saying,
Hmm.
I have a family member who graduated with their master's degree. And
Hmm.
Josh, they're almost 6 figures in debt for that.
Yep. and I ain't even gone back yet for mine, and I need to. I'm gonna wait a few years until certain things change, but
I feel
but it's like I'm already in the debt with the undergrad, and
yeah,
I prayed to the Lord, and I was like, Lord, if it's not meant to be, and I know there's some people out there who will say, "Oh, the Lord doesn't want us in debt." Well, yes, but the circumstances of being who I am, I'm not afforded those certain things that would have allowed me to be put in a situation where I wouldn't have to take on debt.
yep,
So I'm walking through the season, and the Lord has allowed the door to stay open, and surely He will provide. And surely I'm gonna keep working, pulling myself up by the bootstraps to the best of my ability, even though the boots got holes in them right now.
yep,
Sometimes the soles on are very, very thin. My feet hurting. Plantar fasciitis is eating me up.
yep,
We still do what we need to.
yep. And what I struggle with, Josh, is being a single dad,
Hmm.
which is now we're talking about the contrast between the paycheck and the presence. Back in the day, when dad was not there and he was providing, mom was the backbone to ensure the children
Yep.
it's for a good cause. Dad is gone because he takes care of us, and there was a
Hmm.
different understanding then. Well, cut to 40 years later, and now Quentin is a single dad, and it's all on him. Now I have to weigh out the paycheck versus the time spent. Because really, Josh, and I've been that type of parent too, where if I had extra, I tried to make up for it and give them stuff.
Hmm.
And what I noticed is they don't remember the stuff. They remember the time.
The moments. Yep.
So now I'm tripping because now I know spending the money won't work.
Hmm.
So now I got to spend the time. Well, Josh, now there's a problem because in order for me to spend the time, I have to be present with you. If I'm present with you, now I'm not, I can't provide.
Yeah.
And what the topic we were talking about last time I can remember is Jacob and his wife. He was trying to get her to help because she was starting to miscarry. So he's driving the cart forward, and she had the handmaid in the back helping her, and she's screaming and crying and hurting and all that. And so he finally had to stop. When he stopped, she had already named the baby, and she named him "Son of My Pain," and he said, "No, I'm gonna name it this, which is actually Son of My Strength." Well, both things are true
Yeah.
because Josh, it takes strength to get up every day with my children, get them ready, make sure the homework is done, bath times, ready for testing on Friday, while going to work myself, and then being present at my work, not even able to switch hats, or no, not even able to let the steam off, so to speak, from the day before I had to be dad again. See, here's another
Mm.
thing too. Back in the day when dad had to go to work and come home to the family, he had at least 20 minutes to kind of switch himself before he
Yeah.
walked back in the house. Now, for me in particular, there's no gap there. So it's straight from this to this, and there's no
It's from
gap.
one.
And you go
Yeah.
right from one thing, almost like you do with your job. You go from right
Yeah.
from one thing.
To
So
the other.
there is not even a decompression stage. And now, okay, I'm fine with being present because I love
Hmm.
my children. I want to be present. But then society can say, well, oh, that's nice. But if you want a wife, you can't get the wife and be sitting with the children not making no money.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
I heard it makes me think of the book. I read a book called The Imperfect Pastor a few years ago and gave it to a few people. But in the book, it hit on the point of you think about the pastor. The pastor is the preacher. They deliver the sermon. The pastor is now also your Lord. I'm about to mess this all up, so just work with me. But you think about the various the way that the Lord did distribute out the 12 tribes and the various roles and responsibilities, where you had your intercessors, you had your ministers, you had your person who was knowledgeable of the word, you had somebody now that would go out and who would have a certain role in the church to or in the temple. Those positions and those titles would be divvied out amongst the tribes. Now you look at the church, it's typically that pastor who is trying to fulfill the multiple roles as a leader. And you in the past where the roles were divvied out, now it's one person. So now that person is going to fumble and stumble. Why? Because they're not God. They're not the Lord. They're not capable and able to always fulfill those roles and responsibilities. And I think as a single dad for you too, there's that added pressure too because you don't have that helpmate.
well, see
So there's
now,
that.
and see, I've struggled, Josh. I don't mean to cut you
Mhm.
off,
No,
but
you're fine.
that has helped me back in pastoralship.
Mhm.
because I've had a couple churches that wanted me as pastor. But Josh, now and I feel bad because if God calls you, he will equip you. I get that. But my brain was saying, I can't do all that. God, how in the world? And I know I'm talking to God. You're preaching to the choir. And I hate when people try to say, but Q, you talk look, you're preaching to the choir or you're preaching to a preacher. I get what I'm saying. I understand what I'm saying. But God, how in the world can I pastor a church and do what I do Monday through Friday as a single dad, bro? Lord, I need some help. You can't require all that of me and not send me no help. Now I know I'm
Yeah.
talking to God, and he probably sitting up there laughing at me because he know he got it all under control. But still, like
Mhm.
Lord, Josh, I get no breaks,
Mhm.
none. If I do break away, it's for a little bit just to do my music.
Mhm.
But I get no breaks. If pastoralship is required of me, I know he'll provide the way, I get it. But why does it seem like it's so much of me to ask for some help? But then when I tell people that I'm asking for the help, they want to make it seem like it's because I'm not doing enough. Well, I'm not doing enough
Mm.
because I can't, I'm doing all I can do now. I
I
can't
think
do more.
mhm. We're
It's
living
a
in a
weird
wo
place.
It is because 'cause we're living in a world that has high expectations yet. And, I think about this too. I don't necessarily know if we're in a where let's talk about the Black community because that's the community we know. Where in the past, you would have seen the African American community stand together when there was a need. Now, I don't necessarily know if we see that. I hardly personally know my own neighbors. Even when I go home, we know them by name, but there used to be a true community that you would see amongst the people. And you really don't see that too often, too much. Where's everybody? Everybody's typically now inside their house doing whatever
Yeah,
they want to do. Back in the day, you would have had people outside on the porch watching the cars drive by. You would have had those social interactions, but I don't necessarily think I see that hardly anymore. And the
that's how it
reality too
was.
is people are busy. People got to
People
work.
are busy.
So
And see,
people have
what happened,
transportation too.
bro? What happened?
Technology,
'Cause
in all seriousness, technology. I
okay,
think, and I'm not trying to use that as a scapegoat, but I think with the advancements of technology, our needs and the things that, our need for social interaction was changed and adjusted. Whereas we would have had to go outside the house, now I can just easily download an app and I can have that social interaction. It may not necessarily always be, you know, obviously we should be having those physical face to face social interactions, but the reality of circumstances is now my brain is adjusted. I'm good
yeah,
talking through a text. I would
yeah,
rather you text me sometimes as opposed to calling me, to be honest.
right,
But now, as I've gotten older, I'm surprised that's kind of even adjusted. Now, I've actually preferred conversations with which it depends on who the person is, with people.
yeah,
So I
and
think just the
and
changes in technology.
what has happened as a result of that, and maybe I hope I'm not the only one, and I hope I can help somebody with this statement. I would love that personal communication of where I have to walk up to you and initiate it because that's what I cut my teeth on doing that.
Hmm.
Right? I didn't cut my teeth on social media like our children are doing. I cut my
Right.
teeth on having to actually walk up to the person and then setting the time, being responsible to keep the time, showing up on the time you said because the movie starts at 8:05. You can't be showing up at 8:45. So you had to have a certain level of responsibility when you was watching movies back in the day. You had to go to the movie theater. You couldn't pause it or rewind it, and it was a different lifestyle that we were living then. Ever what I've experienced in trying to get to know a lady, where I have faltered is my approach, Josh. And once again, I hate to keep going down this vein, but
Hmm.
sometimes it seems as if when I practice that's almost in some way, shape, or form, that makes them uncomfortable. When you approach and you speaking future and life and growth, and I was talking to, I had to do a wedding, and long story short, end up meeting one of the people that was at the wedding through social media and found them. And or we found each other coming across social media. And initially it was like, hey, you did such a good job doing the wedding. And because it was my first wedding that I had done. So I was nervous and whatnot. So we got through it. It went great. And they were on the wedding party. And So I'm at the event, at the wedding. I was reserved, and they spoke to me as Reverend Lee, and that's who I was. I was Reverend Lee. I ain't push up on nobody. I didn't. I was cordial with everybody, talking to everybody. So came across this particular lady, great lady. Um, so one day, and then we was texting back and forth for a couple weeks. So for me, that's like a lifetime. So I'm thinking, oh man, just texting back and forth, general stuff. How you doing? Checking on each other. So this
Mhm.
particular day, we texted. And she said, "Well, how was your day?" I said, "Oh, it was good today." But I said that particular day, I just happened to be thinking about her a lot. So that's what I said. I said, "I had a good day, but I was thinking about you a lot today." So in true woman fashion, because they gotta know, because they want you to feed their ego, she asked, "What were you thinking about?" So I told her the truth, Josh. I said, "I was thinking about um, like in the future, maybe going on vacations, and because she has two children too. I have two, she has two.
Mhm.
So I was thinking about, when the kids meet each other and going on vacations and stuff like that. So I was just thinking about you today. Her response to that was like it confused her. She said, um, "You was thinking like that already?" And I'm really tripping. When she sent that, I'm really tripping. Like I don't know what to say other than maybe I'm sounding like a simp at that point. I'm saying, yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Because in my brain of everything of who I am, I didn't see nothing wrong with that. So,
Mhm.
long story short, that made her feel uncomfortable. So, we really, bro, essentially stopped talking that day, bro, over just me saying that I was thinking about her that day, about when the kids would meet and if we was going off on vacation, how that would be. I didn't think that was Josh. Trust me. In the realm of making you feel uncomfortable, there were a whole lot of things I could have said that I thought would have made you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
I didn't go that route. I kept it positive. I kept it family oriented. I kept it future. I wasn't talking right now. I kept it future,
Mhm.
and that bothered you. And I'm like, what has happened, bro, when that statement makes you feel uncomfortable?
I
I'll
think for
give
some
you,
people,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I think for some people, it might have been too soon for her, and maybe she
But I
wasn't.
didn't say anything.
You might have, it was just the fact that you brought a future up, and when people try to grasp a future, some people are intimidated by the future. Some people, honestly, are intimidated about the next 24 hours.
So
But
now,
trying to, mhm.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't really have anything. I didn't have anything. I was gonna listen.
Well, so then, Josh, once
Mhm.
again, you're having to try to navigate through an empty playbook or an old playbook that don't work no more.
Yeah.
Cause Josh, that line back in the day, that would have flown, bro. That would have flew 15 years ago. But I wasn't ready to go on vacation 15 years ago, but it worked. Now that I can actually go on a vacation, now that's bothering me.
I can't help but wonder too. You mentioned, does it make me feel like look like a simp because I'm talking to you about future and it looks so
That's
romantic?
how, when
If
she was responding to me in the way that she was responding to me,
mhm.
I could only give her my truth, but I felt that my truth was being simpish.
Hmm. So I can't
Cause
help but
see,
wonder. So if, and I'm just, and this is a question I'm thinking about as I was thinking about it as you talked about it. When I was growing up, listening to I call them my sisters, but they're like my sisters, some close female friends, their ideal guy was always a roughneck, someone who was
okay,
rough around the edges.
okay,
And obviously, I never felt that description. So anytime
me
it was
neither.
always like I was always the little brother to them or the brother. So there were certain things that they would expect of a roughneck or, a guy who's rough around the edges. There's some things they would expect of him that they said I couldn't do. They said, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. I'm like,
But see, look at
I
that double
guess, can I just
standard though,
operate?
Josh. Look at that double
Right.
standard though.
But I think too, though, for them, I think that rough edge person, and it goes back somebody who can provide, somebody who can ultimately not just provide but protect and defend them.
Are you saying, and this is just working it out, are you saying
Mhm.
that they feel the rough guy can do that better than the other guy?
Probably. I mean, and
Okay.
I'm just
I'm with that.
thinking
I'm
this
with
out
that.
loud, and I know, and I'm 100% could be wrong, but I think there's still that mindset, even because as we wrestle with this as men, we can't help but wonder: do women also wrestle with this and the change and the things that have changed for them as well?
So
Where,
if you
yeah,
saying rough guy, the easiest way I can be a rough guy without being that guy
Mhm.
is being my grandfather.
Mm.
However, when I try to be my grandfather, that don't work. So now what other aspect about the rough guy is it that apparently my grandfather is not? Because when I try to model him, if we saying that they feel the rough guy can be a better provider or whatever, then
Mhm.
what is it about my that my grandfather don't got because I'm modeling after him that the rough guy got?
Oh, that's easy.
Now
It's the
go
it's
ahead.
the wrong model for the wrong generation.
Okay.
You model that generation's model. Our model is different. Our model is, and I hate to use these terms, but almost a gangster, almost thug life. That's
Okay.
the and why? Because I think that's what was predominantly shown to the women of our generation. Those were the things that was promoted in the music and
Okay.
entertainment business as someone who was a little rough around the edge, something that was
Okay.
fun and exciting. So I think that's my, and I could be absolutely wrong, but I think
Josh, you
that
ain't too
plays a
I'm
role
gonna
too.
I'm gonna I'm gonna tell you why you're not too far off. Because if
Hmm.
you look at the machine has almost orchestrated that. Where my grandfather lost value and then
Mm.
Tupac became popular.
Yeah.
It was if you look at where we're at now,
Wow. Yeah.
I can't go before Tupac to see too many guys say this is where it started. And if you look at Tupac, mid 90s, 24 years old he was when he passed, mid 90s, 24 years old, living that thug life. When you cut to 30 years later, we're living the results of people following that model of a man, especially a black man. Pop
Definitely.
grandfather's fashion is gone out, especially a black man, black grandfather. That's gone out and it is that model is gone, and it is now what the machine has done as far as modeling in front of our young ladies what masculinity is. Because you'll tell me I made you feel uncomfortable. Thank you, Lord. Lord have mercy. You'll tell me, Josh, that me talking about a vacation in the future made you feel uncomfortable, and yet Tyrone, and I'm just using the filler word because Erica Badu sung a song called Tyrone. I made you feel uncomfortable, but Tyrone was able to come and do whatever he wanted to do with you. But now you try to make it seem like what I'm asking for is so out of bounds
Mhm.
and made you feel so uncomfortable. And you just feeling spilling your guts about how Tyrone cheated. He did this, he ain't this, he did this, he did this. So I'm thinking, well, shoot, I got a shot then because I ain't nowhere near what he doing.
No, you ain't got no shot.
But you're right. You are
No,
exactly right.
you
You
know,
don't.
you
Right.
know,
You don't.
because there's a
Because as
swagger
you
that
tell me
Tyrone
about
has that we
Tyrone,
fail to meet.
right, right. Because you're just looking for another Tyrone.
Hmm. Yeah.
You're not looking to go away from that model. You mad at him, but you're not trying to go away from that model altogether.
Hmm.
You're not doing that.
Yeah.
That's crazy, but that's crazy, bro. Though you'll tell me because that's how they do. He's this, he's that, he ain't this, he ain't that. I wish I would have known, and he came in and did A, B, C, and D. So I'm thinking, oh, whoo, okay, maybe I got a shot with this. And the moment I talk
Hmm.
about a vacation, you come back and tell me that that's making you feel uncomfortable. Okay, okay. What it is, Josh, I'm gonna tell you what it is. When they figure out, and this is not just in with relationships with women. I find this in even in church relationships with other pastors.
Hmm.
I know some pastors, it ain't all of them. I'm just gonna say it how it is. But I know some pastors, bro, who live on both sides of the fence and they are respected in the community and the community knows they live on both
Hmm.
sides of the fence. When they come across me, and I'm a no nonsense type of guy, I'm a no fluff type of guy. I don't dabble on both sides of the fence. When they come across me, they sense that about me. So just like with the women, now with them, I don't get the engagements and the opportunities because remember in training day, Alonzo yeah, Denzel Alonzo. He was trying to tell Jake because Jake is green and man, you can't be this way. It can't. You got to be do it this way. You got to do it right. We can't
Hmm.
go out here acting this way. And Denzel is saying, "I'm sorry. I know it's what you thought it was going to be, but you got to have a little dirt under your fingers for people to trust you."
Yeah.
And he wasn't trying to be rude to Jake. He trying to teach him the game.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing that I've seen as being a minister. It's the same thing in this preaching game, Josh. When they see that Q is like Jake and he holding the line, guess what? We don't keep fooling with him. Now, in the movie, Denzel fooled with Jay because he's trying to set him up, but that's the movie. But in real life, once they figure out that that's where you stand, oh no, we can't fool with him because
Yeah.
he gonna expose what we doing because he too right. I ain't even talking about the women. I'm talking about the pastors and the people who could give me some real
Mm,
opportunities to be seen in this area.
mm,
They don't because I walk a certain line, and they've sensed in me if this guy, the first thing they sense is one, I'm younger, two, I'm
yep.
more capable because they're older now. So I'm stronger, I'm more capable. I have more access to information than they did growing up um, or starting to preach. Um, and he's younger, so he got the juice. He knows how to preach. Which the thing about pastoring is one of the major things. You got to be able to open up the word and preach and teach. They know he can do that. If I give this joker an opportunity and he don't fluff and do and smoke and chew and do these things,
Hmm.
this young Negro is going to blow up. And
Mm,
I can't afford to have that happen because I might lose my position. So because I already have the position and I dabble over here too, I'm not going to give him a shot because I don't want to lose my position because this guy's going to come in and change the game. So that's what also affects me too, bro. I don't get the opportunity with women because they're not looking for my model, and
mhm.
then I don't get the opportunity to showcase myself in the church world where pastors who are already established could call me up to showcase my talent so I can get out there amongst some real male friends and female friends and pastoring opportunities that could help me, but they won't do that to me because it's the same thing that dealing with the homegirl. Whatever it is, Josh, it's the same thing.
Mm. And you know
I
what's
didn't
sad
mean to.
too? We mentioned this last time. Someone else's starring role doesn't diminish my role on the stage. So
Right.
as you come up, I should be able, as a leader, I should be able to pour into you because as a leader, I understand that I'm not always going to be there. Someday I pray to the Lord that the Lord calls me home, whether it be sooner rather than later. I pray to the Lord that He will call me home so that I can be with Him and hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." But I should always be instilling and equipping other leaders within my organization, whether that's a church, whether that's a school, whether that's at the hospital, no matter what you're doing. If you're in leadership, you should be building up other leaders, training
But
them
Josh,
so that you
I,
don't have
I,
to
I
always, because you won't always be there.
I don't think they think like that
And that's
because
sad because it's always,
I
I think
think
the
they're
mindset too
so.
is to preserve yourself and worrying
Yes.
only about yourself. And that's a horrible mindset because it's like, how does that organization stand?
Yeah.
Why, for example, why do we, where is our Martin Luther King Jr. for our time period? Where is our Malcolm X for our
I,
time period?
I'm gonna
And I'm
tell
not
you what,
saying that they didn't pour into people, but it's
but
like,
you won't
mhm,
see them, Josh, because they ain't gonna let them guys get out no more.
true.
Whether it's Malcolm, uh, by any means necessary, or Martin, nonviolence, they're not gonna let either one of those guys get out today.
Mm,
But you'll watch live Young Thug go through his whole shebang, but you will not see another Martin or Malcolm because they cannot afford to let those guys get out. And it's so bad that now, Josh, it's we ourselves that are preventing the Malcolms and the Martins from getting out.
it's true. Yeah. We've
Because
allowed ourselves
you
to be
can't
divided.
tell me, Josh, that you don't see the gift in Quentin. You cannot
Mm,
tell me. You just will not give me an opportunity. I'm going to tell you how I know that you see it. When Joseph had a dream, and we said this last week, his brothers were not confused. His father was not confused. They knew exactly what that little joker was saying.
mhm,
David and his brothers and his fathers, Josh, if you so sure that I'm not going to be picked, why not just call me in the house? If you so sure, because remember what he told him. He said, David, oh, you don't want him. Well, just call him in the house then. No, they knew he was gifted. They knew he was different, and they set him all by himself because they didn't want to have to face the reality that maybe this cat is going to be the generational curse breaker. They knew David was out there
mm,
singing songs to himself and stuff like that. They knew that. They knew Joseph's dreams was saying that one day we're going to be bowing down to this boy with this coat of many colors. They knew that. And yet here I come, and you can't see the Joseph in me, or you can't see the David in me, or maybe is it that you do see it, and
yeah.
you praying to God that I don't see it, or I don't get the proper break to get out there to see it. So that's my reality and what I've been facing and dealing with as
Mm,
far as trying to meet a woman and as far as trying to advance myself in the ministry. Because in this area, in the circles I move in, you increase in your ministry level per somebody saying you can increase.
Mm.
And if that person is either hating on you or dabbling in a double life and don't want you and don't want you around, you're not gonna get the opportunity.
And see, that's not healthy nor good for any organization. And I think the issue therein lies too. So to play devil's advocate, and I hate to say that, but I mean, because I'm trying to be mindful of what I'm advocating. I think too, who wants to be that person knowing that you're setting somebody else to be your successor, knowing that because your time is coming to an end. I think that's a hard, that's a hard reality for many people to face,
It
knowing that
is.
my days are numbered. My
It
time
is.
is winding on up.
It
That's a
is.
hard reality to accept. That's humbling. So I think, but at the same time, too, when you are in those positions, especially in those spiritual leaders positions, such as a pastor, that is just a mindset you should already have ingrained in you. That's something that the Lord has should you should be already allowing that spirit to lead you, so that when the time comes, the legacy continues. The gospel is still preached and proclaimed.
This is what I fear that has happened though. Instead
Hmm.
of that, what has happened was I've been here so long that I have now either become used to this or I have forgotten when I needed to come up. I
Mm.
seen this clip of the 85 South show. And you know them guys. You know them, right?
Probably not. I can look them up.
Um, well, they just like three guys that go around and they do comedy shows. And they pretty big now, so they go around doing the unique thing about them, they're all on the stage together.
Okay.
And one show they was at, a guy who obviously needed to come up, needed some help, had walked down front and kind of interrupted the show. They was like making fun of him because the way he looked and he looked like he was struggling, but he was trying to tell him something, but we couldn't understand what he was saying. Anyway, I say all that to say, when you get to a certain level, gosh, sometimes you can forget
Where you come from?
where you come from.
Yeah, that's not good nor
And what
not
has
healthy.
happened in my experience is that the people who are in charge are afraid because they know the time is winding up.
Hmm.
They won't give me the opportunity because they know as soon as they do, it's going to switch because it's just nature.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I don't get the opportunity to meet anybody as far as a relationship. I don't get the opportunity to preach or teach. I don't get the opportunity to be in certain circles because in this small area we live in my circles I move in, you don't move up until somebody say so. And if you're walking around like Jake in training day, they ain't gonna move you up.
But I mean, we see this even I mean, you see this in I've seen it so much. See it in education, see it in politics. You see it all the time. I heard the expression. I probably said it last time. This is a race. This is a marathon. That this life that we're living is a marathon that we're running, and we're not
Yeah,
running in this sprint by ourselves. We got to hand that baton off. But big issue is, in order for the baton to be handed off, somebody else has to let go. And there's not a
yeah.
lot of people wanting to let go, but they have to let go because what's happening is those people who aren't letting go, they're still running their race, but they're falling off on the track, on the path. And now
And
the baton
and
isn't being
and,
carried.
and look at what you're doing though. As far as let's say if we're looking at leadership or pastoralship,
Hmm.
if you're still holding on to the baton and won't let go, and you're stumbling and falling, well, now the issue is it'd be one thing if you were stumbling and falling by yourself. But
Yeah.
by that time, whether it's in business or ministry, you now have a group of people who are now stumbling and falling with you,
Yep. You're taking it down
all
with you.
because you won't let go. So
Yep.
now, do you even care about your people stumbling and falling? Because they're going to assimilate to you as long as you got
Mm.
the baton. And you will not let go and you're stumbling and falling. And because they love and respect you so much, they're going to stumble and fall with you. Do you know what's happening? And yet, when I say that, because they had a position, they look at me like they don't know what I'm talking about. But that's what's happening. Now you got a church full of people stumbling and falling as well
Yeah.
because you won't let go. And because I ain't quote unquote made it yet, now you can just sit back and look at me like I'm crazy because I even don't have the position you think I should have, or I'm not making the money you think I should have.
Mm.
With the women, I ain't talking to you rough enough. I'm not rough enough to you. So now, what we're talking about today, this type of man, we're trying to navigate a new thing, Josh, and we've learned more in our failures as a man than our successes.
Yeah,
And that's tough
it is.
because we've learned more today in our failures as a man. Josh, coming up, I would have never thought that I would have turned a girl off by talking about vacation, bro. Never. I would have never thought that. I know that if you talk about intimacy too quick or if you on a date and you trying to touch their leg or something like that before they're ready, you know those things because you were taught the boundaries and okay. But I would have never thought that when I told you my truth, that you asked me what I was thinking about. And check this, I didn't tell you I was thinking about taking you to bed, taking you to I didn't talk to you like that, taking you to the hotel room. I didn't talk to you like that. I talked about some positive future stuff, not with just me and you, but with
Mhm.
your children as well. So now trying to be empathetic to your real life situation as a mom. Why? Because I'm a single dad and
Mm.
I know the life of a single parent. So when you asked me what I was thinking about, and I told you I was thinking about you today, I said, you know what? Which I was. I said, you know what? It's gonna be nice to finally like be able to go out on vacation with somebody and you got somebody there helping you with the kids and y'all having fun together and at that time, we had been talking, texting back and forth for on the phone and stuff. So I'm thinking, it'd be nice to do that with her. I think it'd be nice to do that with her. So when I
Mhm.
told her that I was thinking about her a lot that day and told her what I was thinking about, I never thought that that would turn her off, bro. Never. So now
Hmm.
I had to reevaluate everything, bro. Like, what in the world, bro? You can't even give them your truth, bro.
And I wonder if that was something for her and not across the board, broad stroke. If
Right.
something, if it was something that was possibly could have been triggered from maybe her past or just her expectations, or maybe things that she accepts socially within that time frame y'all had known each other. I wonder if that
Yeah.
was something that was probably just no bueno for her. But in the end, it's
Now,
also a
and
blessing
so
for
so
you.
if I take that to be true, and then I'll
Hmm.
also say this, maybe then I was too maybe if she didn't accept that, and I hear you, I hear you,
Hmm.
but so then I would say maybe for me it wouldn't have felt so bad if I had options like that, and
Yeah,
she was just one of many, and
I
it was
feel you.
on to the next for
Feel you
me.
on that one. Feel you on that one.
But because that for me happens so few and far between,
Hmm.
and it's not a regular thing to where I'm interacting with women in that way,
It's a major
it
blow.
affected me differently.
Yep, it's a major blow. Yeah,
It's a yes, yes. It's a major blow
you playing
because you
battleships.
don't interact like that.
Yeah.
And sweetheart, it took a lot for me to tell you that, cause I'm a man. I was fighting from telling you some other stuff, and I didn't. So not only was that truth there, but it was some other truths too. But I'm trying to be empathetic and smart about where I am. We ain't 2 years in, we 2 weeks in, so I'm not going that other route yet. Cause I'm trying to be a gentleman
Mhm.
and say, you know what? I was thinking about the future in the family. Then part of your brain is saying, shoot, maybe I should have led off. Maybe I should have went left. and you and you playing these battles in your mind because, like I said, it happens so few and far between. You
Mhm.
are wondering, should I went left?
No,
Should I have
no,
talked
you
straight?
still walk in your righteous you walk in the righteousness of Christ, and you still do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I think there's a temptation to want to change ourselves just because of the perception of that others have of us. But I mean, Hillary Clinton said, "Take criticism seriously, but don't take it personally. Evaluate it, and if it's true, grow from it."
yeah,
It was something along those lines. But I think too, I think when we're examining relationships, okay, we take things that we know of area of improvements. And then we take areas where we know, like, okay, these are just some things she and I just didn't agree on. And that's
right,
okay. And then
yeah.
I also
And
have to
all right,
take in
so boom,
consideration
so
that
boom.
she's flawed. Yeah.
So
Like,
okay, and see, I'm with that. But if we
mhm,
use my aunt as an example back in the day, I'm sure she didn't agree with everything my uncle was doing.
of course not.
But why did your uncomfortability have to lead to the end?
I
You
think
feel
it's
me?
because everybody's different. People's deal breakers are different.
If you had why couldn't we have? I'm with you, but I'm
Hmm.
like, we could have explained that and hashed that out, and I'd have been like, okay, all right, now I know we can move forward.
Yep.
But why did that have to be the end? As if that was so egregious?
Ah, yeah, I
Maybe
hear
it
you.
was a trigger, and so
Something that could
let's
have
look
been
at
it's something that could you could have had a conversation with. You can be like, okay, she could have just acknowledged, hey, that was a little much for me. Or to hear that you're thinking so far in the future, and we're just still. I feel like we're still early, so I don't know if we're ready for those kind of It's something that could have been easily resolved.
what was I wrong?
I feel the same, but I hear you. No, I agree. I
If
think
if
there's
it
so.
was in what I told her, was that
Mhm.
wrong?
No, I think too in our society and our culture, we have so many opportunities for options. Maybe not for you or not because of our scheduling, but
Right.
for our majority of the world, it's like or majority of our nation, they have the opportunity to if there's one thing, one flaw that they don't like, oh, that can be a deal breaker and they can move on to the next one. There's no desire to
Well,
want to work through
because
and fight through those tough moments anymore sometimes. And I think that's a big another generational difference between what we're living versus, the timeline of your uncle and your aunt, where you're seeing that
yes,
they're fighting through those tough moments. They're
yes,
fighting through and forced to fight through because
yes,
they're down for each other like four flat tires.
right.
But
And
now,
what I'm saying is, why does it seem like it's such a bad thing, God, for me to ask for that,
Mhm. Hmm.
for what they had? Because
He
yeah,
said, yeah,
they had to fight through some stuff, Josh. I know they did. I don't know
yeah,
what, but I know they did.
right.
But look at the result. And all I'm saying is, if somebody can come and help me fight through some stuff, we can make it too.
But I think too that's the Lord saying for that particular person, she wasn't the one for you. For that
Okay.
particular person, her mindset wasn't in the same realm as yours. So therefore, y'all would have been unequally yoked as y'all pursued anything longer further.
Well, see, now, Josh, that's the thing.
Hmm.
Because what they fail to understand about men is how we actually love.
Hmm.
I am loyal, even in the initial stages of it, the infancy of it.
Hmm.
If we just platonically texting back and forth, Josh, I'm so loyal that even platonically, it's you. I'm going to be loyal to you. If this is any type of potential, loyalty is big for us.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Love is big for us, but when we love something and when we are passionate about something and we are all in, it costs us a lot to be all in and to be loyal because there are so many other options that I feel now part of my attraction from you should be you see in me, hey, he's thinking differently, he's speaking differently, he is loyal to me. We've been
Hmm.
having good conversations. I'm thinking you should see that in me because that's what's important to a man.
Hmm.
Respect, loyalty, working through tough times and tough conversations, not finding any reason to leave, but finding every reason to stay. That type of mentality is big for us.
My hold
And
up.
if we can't, say it
My
again.
low my device says it has low device storage. I don't know what that means. One second.
Oh, okay. Oh, you good. You good.
Let's see. I don't know how we got low device storage and data.
Um, No, 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 we good. And what it does, Josh, and somehow what it's doing is recording locally is what it's doing as it uploads. So even though it's not saving to your device, it's recording real time to the device and then sending it up, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So and we almost out of here. What time, how much time we're working with? Can you see that?
It's 6:31 currently.
No, no, I mean can you see the
Oh,
run time?
it's at an hour and 37 minutes.
Okay, okay. And normally what I've had to do too in the past is I delete whatever I can just to make sure that doesn't happen. I know that's tough to do
Mhm.
because our phones with storage is crazy.
I
But
don't even
that's
know
why I
why some of this
chose
stuff is on my phone.
this app because you're not recording it locally and you can
Right.
send it to the cloud. But yeah, it should hold till we good.
Okay. I think what
But yeah,
happened
see,
is I did the new iPhone update.
and that's gigs too, yeah. That takes
Yeah, it
gigs.
is.
Yeah.
But I could have sworn I
So I
deleted some of this stuff.
say it again.
I could have sworn some of these apps I'm trying to hurry up and
Oh,
delete real quick. I deleted a while ago, but I guess not.
but see, maybe it came back during the uh during the update.
That would make sense. So hopefully that works. All right. Hopefully that should get us through.
Yeah, we'll get through. Okay. Which we kind of on the last point with love. And one of the questions we had, Josh, was do men struggle more to say I love you or to show it? But where we live in today, Josh, you don't even get an opportunity to get to either place.
Hmm. I think it
I
totally
don't
depends
I
on the
don't
person. Yeah.
it does. It does.
I think it depends on the man and what the what his love language is. How to is I think we can be really good about showing that we love whether it's our loved one or our children because it's a part of that providing instinct. It's a part of hey, I'm showing you I love you because I'm working all these extra hours to make sure we have a roof over our house. I'm showing you that I love you because I'm taking the time to make sure that I take you out every now and then, whether I'm taking you on a romantic dinner or I'm taking our family out to eat together. I'm showing you that I'm loving you because I'm being sacrificial with the time that I'm giving to you to those with those things. And I think sometimes in that same manner, like you mentioned, it's still important to say it because the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yeah.
It's the words that also matter too, that complements those
Yep.
actions. And I think, and you heard, but you would hear the same thing. You would hear the opposite all the time in the church, where I did, at least growing up. Love is not just a word, it's an action. Well, yes,
Yeah.
but it also still needs to be spoken to and proclaim what it is so that people
Yeah.
understand clearly and truly how it's defined and what it should look like.
Yeah. And you know what I struggle with, and my cousin was trying to call me on it too, is I'm a black and white type of person. My brain operates like that. But he was saying that we don't live in a black and white world, especially today. But if we just use that example I was using, if I'm talking to you, I'm like all in to the point to where I almost need to hear you say it, Josh, like you said, right? But because that seems to be moving too fast, it gets thrown by the wayside, or you can consider that not good practices today. But because we are so loyal, and I think that's why heartbreaks affect us later, because like I told you, what even with that situation, because that's not a everyday situation for me, that was a blow to me because
Yeah.
I thought I had given my best shot. So now it becomes hard to give another shot, even though it's to another totally different person who it may work with.
Yep.
But because it comes so few and far between, now it's hard to get back up on that horse and try again with the same routine or switch it up. And then what are you switching it up to? Right. And you can't switch up so much that you're not yourself anymore. So it becomes very tough for us to deal with love and the failure of said love and how difficult it can be for men who are for the most part loyal to deal with the heartbreaks and the gut punches. And we can't post a picture of Josh on social media and then our DMs are flooded. We can't do that.
Yeah. I think too, like you're saying, just to keep hitting on that point. The expectation for sometimes as men is that we bounce back really quick. And the reality is no. Like my heart hurts too with a breakup. It takes time to heal. Don't have this
It does.
expectation that I'm just gonna just get back out there, get back in the game. No, it ain't just that simple. When you're
No.
when you like you said, when you're being loyal to a person and this is the person you've spent your free time with, you've
Yeah.
sacrificed those weekends that you're spent because you worked the whole week. Now you're sacrificing that extra time, knowing that you just want to stay home, but you also understand your relationship. So it takes commitment, it takes sacrifice, it takes
Yeah.
meeting that person where they're at too. And now when that's gone from you, it's like, okay, this is an adjustment that I have to make now because now I got to feel like how do I feel that free time now that I was sacrificing? Certainly I'm going to, chill and relax. But now it's like,
Yeah.
dog, I thought I had my person. Now I got to get back in the game again when it was hard enough to get this person. But at the
Jo-
same time, I also want to take time to heal.
you're right. 6 years ago, bro,
Hmm.
5, 6 years ago, I had this girl I was talking to, dating, and it's even still hard for me to talk about it today. Josh, I was crazy about her, bro. So much so to where I changed. I acquiesced to her love languages and the way she was because I was just into her that much. Well, when the people around me saw that there was a change, then comes the hate.
Yeah.
Now, because I grew up in the church, I'm used to the talk and I'm used to battling what people saying because I'm just used to that because I'm a third generation preacher, so I'm used to that. Well, she didn't grow up like that, so she wasn't as weather worn as I was. So when that onslaught began to come, instead of coming closer to my shelter, which I feel should have happened, she stood out further where you're not going to be able to handle that onslaught by yourself. It didn't work. And Josh, in 6 years, I have not been right since. I loved that girl that much that 6 years later, bro, I still struggle with God not to call her name, bro. What bothered me the most was the people around me who had so much to say once they saw the change in me. Once she was gone out of my life and it became business as usual, guess what they did? They went back like nothing had happened. I was helping again. I was around. I was available to be called on. I was there to be whatever they needed me to be. So business went back to like it was supposed to be. And they never asked me, bro, how I felt about her leaving, how I felt about her, period. Cause, bro, it's been 6 years, bro, and I ain't been right since, bro.
Of course not,
In some
because
way.
you're still healing, but at the same time too, when for those other people, it was they saw a change in you because you weren't your availability and your boundaries had changed. So therefore, there's an issue wrong once your boundaries change. But the reality is, no, the boundaries have to be established.
So
Boundaries are
what
going
does
to
that say?
change.
What does that say about those people around us, Josh? They get like that. Maybe they shouldn't be around us to begin with.
Maybe, or also, I think too, in fairness too, they just got it's an adjustment. For me, like I remember when in college when I saw my best friend when he got a girlfriend, and it's like, dang, it's an adjustment for you. Not saying that I don't approve of her, but it's an adjustment because now his schedule is changing. Now our bro time is changing. So now that's an adjustment that I have to make in my brain because like, no, what do I do now? And granted, it wasn't that deep for me, but I think it's an adjustment in mindset because I think people when people are so used to having your availability available to them, and when it changes, there's a big issue that impacts their life. So I just think it's just the reality of living. But I think people, if a person is not willing to be respectful of that change or willing to understand that that change is a part of life and you getting someone else, then I think that's the time to reevaluate the need and the importance of that relationship.
Yeah, yeah. Because when I love, if you come across Quentin's path and he gets to that point with you, that's life to him.
Hmm.
So because we love differently and we are different, Josh, when we do come across that person, it's just different, bro, when you lose that person.
It is.
It's different.
And I think too, for people, they need to, it's instead of me being available to you, how are you available to me? How are you taking the time to touch bases and check in on me? And not just sending a text message or a phone call, but actually asking genuine, hard hitting questions, almost to a pry. It sounds like you're prying, but a prying nature to see where I'm truly at. Because I can tell you, I can give you a buttercup, you know, Christmas present answer, with a bow on top. But if you really want to know how I am, come see how I'm living. Come break
Right.
bread with me. Pay a
But
visit,
see,
be available, be present.
but bro, I don't have that,
Yep.
right? Whether it's from a female company or male company or family company. Um, yeah, you
Mm,
don't have that, right? It's only really my children that come in this house. Me
mhm,
and my children. Well, they live here, but it's just it's just us.
right.
And you don't have if you look at my two occupations, Reverend Lee and Mr. Lee,
Mhm.
how much do you think they're asking Reverend Lee and Mr. Lee how he really doing?
Not often at all. Of course not, because those are both
See,
positions, like you said, they're taking
right,
positions.
right,
And that's how they're designed.
right. Now my quarrel, Josh, is with God. Like, Lord, you
Mm,
see what I'm giving. Why is it so much to act? Now, this is my cousin was telling me too, and we're gonna move on. But in my feeble mind, Josh, on principle alone, I should be able to ask for some stuff and it show up. But he says it don't work like that. That
no,
you still have to work towards a goal or
yep.
work towards what you want. And so now I'm like, well, God, something has to give because if I'm Mr. Lee and Reverend Lee and I'm always giving and people are taking, what energy, if still have to work for it, what energy do I have to work for what I need in my private life if I'm
Mm,
so busy giving to the world, right?
right.
What time and energy do I have into fighting for and finding what I need if my occupations have me always giving. So then when
Mm,
people see you on social media or they see you out and they know what you do, they always assume you're good because of the profession you have.
yep.
So they never ask, are you okay? Do you need anything? And or can I hook you up or what's going on with you? That never comes across Mr. Lee's and Reverend Lee's ears.
Mm,
It's always assumed that you're good, and that's not the case. When in reality, a lot of times, Josh, I'm on the opposite side of good. I just through God's strength make it look a certain way.
yeah.
If
Mm,
if the people who called me Mr. Lee knew what was actually on my brain, Josh,
mhm.
they might look at me differently. I'm just keeping it
Wow.
real with you.
Yeah. Same. I agree.
And it's not that I'm a mean, vindictive person, but I have on my mind a lot of times I want a wife.
Mhm.
I need a better career because I'm not making enough money what I'm doing to take care of said wife because
Yep.
you can't because you got to be a certain way today and so thinking about my career. I'm thinking about the lack of finances. I'm thinking about my loneliness and wanting to be with a wife. I'm thinking, I'm seeing some of the husbands you got around here, and I'm saying, man, what did he do to get
Get you.
you? And I'm looking at him, and he just a normal dude like me, right?
Yep.
Or if I get conceited sometimes, depending upon how I dress for that day, I'm like, he ain't got nothing on Mr. Lee. What is you? So all of these things are going through my brain as I'm being Mr. Lee and there for the people and there for the little people and I'm trying to process this on a daily basis, bro, of why can't Mr. Lee find happiness, but he gives it, find love, but he gives it, find reciprocation if I'm willing to provide and to lead, but while having to be around people who seem to be living the life I want to live, while having people who I would say I at least qualify as well as they do to be with you. And if they got you, God, what in the world are they doing that's so different? How am I that off? And I'm just giving the viewers out there a little glimpse into my life, Josh, and what's in my head.
Mhm.
How in the world am I that off, bro, to where I just can't figure it out?
I don't think you're
And the next,
off.
okay,
I firmly just believe the Lord is saying, "I want you hungry."
you want me what?
He wants you hungry. He just wants you to stay hungry right now.
Okay,
And it requires you to keep
okay,
eating, keep fighting. Because when you're
okay.
hungry, when you're starving, your brain, you operate differently. But
You
when you
do, you
well
do,
fed and when you get
you do.
content, contentment sometimes breed comfortability. And when you're comfortable, sometimes you don't make adjustments that need to be made. So
You
maybe
do.
keeping you hungry is keeping you in a position to where he's like, I'm molding and I'm shaping you. I'm still defining who you are so that when she comes along, because since I'm giving you this desire to find a wife, then when man findeth a wife, he find a good thing.
Yeah.
So when the moment
Cause,
finally
cause,
does
cause part,
come,
cause part of what I've been wrestling with too. Well,
mhm,
God, just take that desire away. I'll keep fighting and writing and producing music and putting out the work. But can you just take the desire away? Cause it's hard to fight that too, God. I mean, if you want me in this season of working, producing, fighting, writing, creating, cool. But my God, but then he reminds me of what he told Paul. Cause Paul was saying, God, I could do so much more for you if you could just this one thing. And Paul is so anointed, Josh, that if he took a piece of handkerchief off of his robe and laid it on somebody, they were healed. Paul is so anointed that one day 7 brothers were trying to imitate him and they walked up to a actual demon possessed man. And the demon possessed man said, now, Jesus I know and Paul I know, but who are you?
you,
Remember that?
oh yeah,
And Paul is in the same, you know you bad when you in the same conversation from a demon as Jesus. The demon said, Jesus I know, and Paul I know, but I don't know y'all brothers. And he whooped them jokers. One man, demon possessed, whooped 7 men. But look at what Paul was saying, bro. And it's kind of what we're talking about today. Paul was saying, God, I do all that for you. I heal people. I'm fighting the devil for you. I'm preaching for you. I'm fasting for you. He's fasting so much, Joker probably wasn't even shaving or taking a bath. I'm just eating honey and locusts, just fasting, just preaching. But this one thing that I struggle with, God, and we don't know what that is, and it ain't for us to know because we all got something different we struggle with. He said, God, if you could just take this one thing away from me that I can't seem to fight myself, I can fix JoJo, I can fix Quentin, I can fix Josh, I can fix all these, but this one thing that I do, I can't deal with this one thing. If you take this away, I could do so much more for you. Uh, to that, God says, my grace
that's
is
sufficient.
sufficient. I'm not going to remove, and I'm preaching to myself right now. I'm not going to remove it because my grace is sufficient. So you're going to have to create the music and be lonely. You're going to have to stand up on the
Yeah.
pulpit and preach to my children while hurting from loneliness.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go to your job every day with your children and look at the other guys who have what you want and just want it and not have it because that's why I want you. And Josh, that's a hard pill to swallow.
It is. And but see, those moments will either do one of two things. We're either gonna live in rebellion and go away from God because of that pain, or the Lord is gonna draw us closer to Him through that pain.
How do we decide which one happened?
It's the desire that comes within you to either you're gonna operate in a spirit of obedience or you're gonna operate in a spirit of rebellion.
Okay.
Like that might, and I hate that I might sound like Christianese, but it's, am I still keeping up those habits that I know that the Lord wants me to have? Am I still taking the time out to make sure, obviously, yes, I'm going to a Sunday service, or as a whole, not forsaking the assembly? Am I still taking the time to take out my quiet time and have my moment with the Lord? Am I taking my time to praise and worship Him in my moments and in my suffering and in my pain, just like David did, where you have those moments of worship, like you have in your solitude because the pain hurts that much, but you still got to sing a praise out. It's taking those moments. Am I still having my prayer time? Am I still having a heart filled with gratitude and teaching myself to be filled with gratitude? Am I still also petitioning my honest emotions, my raw emotions to the Lord? Am
I would like to
or
think I am. I would like to think
Mhm.
that I always make a joke out of it that I give God the business. So he's well aware of how I feel.
So I think it's just remaining upon that path and knowing that the Lord, there's His grace is still sufficient, but also understanding that you still have that flesh, that humanity side too, that still it hungers and desires, and it's finding that community who can pour into you. Because
And
think about it
Josh,
too. When Moses was it Lord help me? It was Moses, right? Who, and I'm probably gonna be so wrong, who had to hold up the staff while they
no,
were down while
it's Moses.
they were
It's
down there
Moses.
fighting.
But but
Uh,
he had to have two people on each side
That part right there,
help.
come alongside them.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
that reminder that we need people, we need relationships, and it's not just that romantic relationship that's important, but it's also those brothers that are important that we need. And if we don't have them, we better find them quick. No man is an island, and we got to remember that. And I think it's
yeah,
making sure we have those brothers, making sure that those true, genuine friends. Because right now, I could tell you, if I had a moment when I had my moment, when I lost one of my kids in youth group, a few years ago, and he passed away, I called my brothers. Moment like that, they picked up. And granted, I was in tears, weeping, and all of that. But it's when those dire moments happen, do I
yeah,
have that group of friends that I know that I can reach out to? I may not be able to reach out to them, and be like, "Hey, you want to go to this ball game?" But when that triage moment, when I'm the top of that priority in that triage, I understand that they're going to be there. They're going to come to me first because that's what the greatest
right.
need. That's the greatest intention.
Yeah,
Because you think about,
yeah,
like, when we don't have it within inside of us to be reminded of the Lord. The Lord is like, I have people around you who are going to speak life into you.
right, right. Well, and I gotta admit, you do the same thing for me
To God be the glory.
because
Likewise.
like I said, the only other person that I talk like this to is the cousin I was helping today. So that's two guys, bro. My cousin and you. And then, of course, we give it to our viewers. But my cousin and you are the only two guys that I really will break this stuff down and be bare with. Um, but you're right, because I'm going through a season of what? Because Josh, you feel yourself getting weak,
Yeah.
and not in the week, not necessarily in the sense that weak you're gonna do something bad, but God, I'm tired, bro. I'm tired of praying. I'm tired of expecting. Because they said that, you know what they said to us, and I think it was Christianese. They say faith without works is dead,
Yep.
which would imply that if you have the faith, and then they said you ain't gotta have a whole lot of faith. If you just have the faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. Well, the problem now is, Josh, you can't just be working at McDonald's because that's work, right? Isn't that work? But you can't just be working at McDonald's because now, which is it now? So, but you told me faith without works. You didn't say faith without BMW. Oh, you said faith without works. So now that I have a work, it's not doing what I needed to do, but you didn't say I needed a job to do what I needed to do if I was just working. And if I had a small little bit of faith, that mountain moved. That's what you told me. Well, now I've been in this position that I am for 5 years. So this works. I have faith because I ain't gave up yet. But I'm asking for some mountains to move, and I'm looking around like, uh, but then what they try to use, well, God's grace. Well, can come on now? You're working, you're talking against yourself now, right? And then what about the guys, Josh, who don't have faith and they just working? Explain that to me. The guys who are just going to work, making $50,000 a year, working 60 to 80 hours a week, they come home to it. It may not be right, or they may be struggling, or it may not be what it seems to be on the outside looking in, but they got it. He just working. So why is it that I can't have the works and the faith and make some stuff happen? I feel that. I feel that. And sometimes I ask God, Josh, can you show me then, God, why not just turn into that working guy? Sure. I'm not I'm not trying to make you bring down fire and prove to the enemy that you're real, but just show me in my personal life. Why not become that guy? What's the use of holding the line? Huh? Yeah, no, I feel you. Um, and I think Josh, he takes the ones he loves the most through those seasons. Yeah, I think he takes the ones that he loves the most through those seasons. Because outside of faith, Josh, it does not make any sense. It doesn't. I'm trying to follow you, but it's radical because the guy that's just working has it. And here I am agonizing and I'm trying to do the best I can to live right, be right. For what? You got to show me for what? I mean, I'm not trying to be like Doubting Thomas, but I need to see something. Yeah. 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 I feel that. Yeah.